Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going through some tips and techniques to help you improve both the quality and the quantity of your reading. Let's get into it. Firstly, I think it's really important to acknowledge that reading can actually be difficult. This is the 21st century with all of the constant distractions, the noise, the information overload that comes with computers, the internet, and especially these days, smartphones. It can be really difficult to actually sit and calm and focus your mind on reading a single book or article. So I always think back to 2004 when I was 18 and I didn't have a smartphone, didn't have a laptop in those days, and I first went to university in 2004 and I actually decided that I didn't even want to have a television in my halls of residence room because I just wanted to focus on my studies. And thanks to not having any distractions, I found sitting and reading a really easy thing to do. Very enjoyable. But today, 20 years on, I actually find it much more difficult to read than I did back then and to actually sit and focus on a book, whether it's fiction or academic. That's why my first tip when you're reading is to try and eliminate distractions as far as possible. Switch off your computer, put your phone in another room somewhere far away from you so you can't keep picking it up. Tip number 2 is that you need to practice reading to get better at it. Reading is like a sport or exercise. If you don't run, or you haven't run for many years, and then you go out and you try and do a 5k, you're going to find that pretty challenging and maybe a little bit overwhelming and disheartening. If you wanted to become a runner, you'd probably first start by running for 5 to 10 minutes each day, and then you'd slowly start increasing your distance as your stamina improves. So reading is exactly that. Start with 5 to 10 minutes a day if you're not somebody that usually reads, and as you find that calm and focus, as you practice getting into the zone, then you can start increasing the amount you read a little bit by little bit, spending 5 or 10 minutes more each session. Also, going back to the sports analogy, because I like this one, you need to practice reading the specific type of things that you want to read, the types of texts. So by this I mean, like, if you want to read fiction, you need to practice reading fiction, or classics, practice reading classics, or academic literature. Because let's think, for example, in sport, if you were a cyclist and then you decide you want to run a marathon, so your underlying fitness may give you some transferable advantage over somebody that's never run before, but you'd still need to actually go out and actually run to get good at running. You need to train specifically for what you want to do. So if you read lots of light literature, you'll become really good at reading light literature. But then if you want to start taking on heavy classics or more academic texts, you'll need to start building your stamina to read that particular type of writing. And that will be another process where you need patience and to build it up gradually over time. The third tip is to try and be consistent with reading. Make it a habit. So try reading at the same time every day. So it could be on your morning commute, could be for 30 minutes before you go to bed. Utilize the time. There's always time. Lots of people don't think they have time to read, but they can. If they just find those little moments in the day where they have that downtime, have that headspace, instead of scrolling on your phone, pick up your book. And try and stack that habit with another habit. This is an idea from Atomic Habits by James Clear that I know lots of people reference because it's a really good tip. So if I read in the morning, I might get up, I might go for my run, I'll come back and have a shower, and then make my morning coffee, and at that point I will always sit down and read for 30 minutes as I'm drinking that coffee. And that means that when I get that coffee, I'm triggering myself, my brain, automatically, that it's time to read. It's part of my daily routine, it's part of my habits. So my brain's expecting that to happen, and therefore I'm able to concentrate for that length of time. The fourth tip is to take notes as you read. And this might be more applicable if you're reading academic texts, but taking notes helps you to both comprehend what you read and remember it. So it's really useful, particularly with academic texts. An important tip about taking notes is that a note should be a short summary in your own words. You shouldn't take a note by copying big chunks of the text directly. By summarising, it forces you to think about the meaning of what you've read, and therefore it will help you recall it in the future. Here on YouTube there are loads of great videos about note-taking. I've watched so many that have really improved my note-taking style over the years, but we might also do one of our own in the future as well, if people think that'd be of interest, so do let us know. My fifth and final tip is to read slowly. Quality over quantity. So personally, I think it's better to read fewer books and really comprehend and enjoy those books than to just rush through as much material as possible. Especially with academic books or classics, it isn't uncommon to find words you don't understand or references to historical events that you know nothing about. When I'm reading, I always have a dictionary to hand, or my phone, which I know contradicts my second tip about eliminating distractions, but I'll have this there just so I can look up words or terms I don't understand. Even as a native English speaker, I find that very challenging because some of the language is very high level in those books. Likewise, books I'm reading often might refer to a historical event, a person is mentioned who you don't know anything about, and I'll look that up as well, just so I can understand the full context of what I'm reading. It does slow you down when you're reading, however, it really allows you to get the most out of that material. So I feel quite qualified to talk about reading because not only am I a librarian, but over the last year I've actually been preparing a research proposal to apply for a PhD, so I've really had to engage with some heavy materials that have been absolutely fascinating, but technically very difficult to read. And these really were the 5 things that I found helped me engage with those materials and get the most out of them so that I could produce the final proposal. I hope you found these tips helpful. If so, please do give us a like, and if you have any of your own reading tips that you'd like to share with us or others, please do leave them in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, please do subscribe if you're interested in our channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.